kids to truly see. She couldn't see the world, but she saw straight into their hearts. There's a small village tucked between dusty hills and whispering trees, a place where time moves slowly and stories still travel on the wind. And in that village lived an old woman. Everyone called her Amma. No one remembered how old she was. Her face was full of soft, deep wrinkles, like little rivers carved by years of sun, sorrow, and smiles. She wore the same blue shawl every day, and her eyes were cloudy and white because Amma was completely blind. She hadn't seen light in over 40 years. But here's what made her special. Every evening, just as the sun dipped low, Amma would sit under the old neem tree in the village square. And the children would come running, laughing, shouting, pushing, pulling, until they reached her. Then they'd go quiet, sitting cross-legged, eager and waiting. Because Amma told stories, not from books but from memory, from heart. Stories of forests that forgot how to grow, rivers that learned to sing again, and kings who were blind in the heart even when their eyes worked just fine. The children listened like nothing else mattered. They forgot about hunger. They forgot about homework. They forgot about time. And even though Amma couldn't see, she always knew. She knew who was sad, who had lied to their parents, who had cried quietly that afternoon. She never scolded, never judged. She just smiled and told the right story at the right time. But one day, something changed. A new boy came to the village. His name was Ravi, 11 years old, dark eyes, angry face. He had just lost his father. His mother, now a widow, had brought him to live with relatives. Ravi didn't talk, didn't smile, didn't play. He just sat alone, arms crossed, eyes full of thunder. That first evening, when the other kids ran to Amma, Ravi stayed away. He leaned against a tree, far from the neem, watching. He saw the blind woman sitting still, hands folded, lips moving like magic. He saw the kids laughing, gasping, wide-eyed, and he muttered, "She can't even see. What could she possibly know?" But still, he watched. Something about her voice, it wasn't loud, it wasn't fast, but it reached him slowly, quietly, like a whisper under his skin. That night, Ravi couldn't sleep. Not because of the heat, but because of one thing Amma said just before the kids left. "You don't need eyes to see. You need a heart that's open." Those words stayed with him like a knock on a locked door inside his chest. The next evening, Ravi came closer. He didn't sit. He stood behind the group, arms folded, pretending not to care. But Amma didn't need to see him. At the end of the story, she tilted her head and said gently, "You, the one under the mango tree, you're carrying a heavy pain." The other kids turned. Ravi froze. "Come sit, child," Amma said. "Not so your ears can hear, but so your heart can breathe." Ravi hesitated, then walked forward and sat. That evening, Amma told a new story about a boy who had lost his father in a storm. A boy who locked his heart and stopped believing in the sun until one day he met someone who saw him without using eyes. Ravi said nothing, but when the story ended, a single tear rolled down his cheek. Amma smiled. She hadn't seen the tear, but somehow she knew. From that day on, Ravi sat with the children every evening. He didn't talk much, didn't laugh yet, but he listened deeply. Amma's words were like thread, sewing something broken back together inside him. But the question still burned in his heart. How? How could she tell such stories? How could she feel everything when she couldn't even see? One day he asked, "Amma, how do you know so much if you can't see the world?" The square fell silent. Even the birds paused. Amma turned her face toward his voice, her blind eyes glowing softly. "Because, my child," she whispered, "eyes show you the outside. But when you lose your sight, you begin to see with your soul. You hear the weight in a person's breath. You feel the silence they carry. You start seeing not how things look, but how they are." The wind blew gently through the trees. The children sat still. And for the first time, Ravi believed in something again, not in stories, not in magic, but in a truth deeper than sight. That maybe, just maybe, Amma saw more than anyone else ever could. One evening, just as Amma was about to begin, a loud voice cut through the square. Why do you all sit around this old blind woman?" Everyone turned. It was Romesh, a man known for his bitterness. "She's nothing but an old beggar. She can't even see. What can she teach your children?" Ravi stood up, fists clenched, but before he could speak, Amma raised her hand. She didn't face Romesh. She didn't argue. She simply said, "Sometimes those without eyes see far more than those who only look." The square went silent. Even Romesh had no reply. He grumbled and walked away. But something in that moment changed everything, because for the first time, Ravi saw a tear sliding down Arma's cheek. Slow, quiet, real. The children gasped. They had never seen Amma cry. "Amma, why are you crying?" Ravi whispered. She held her shawl tightly, shoulders trembling. After a long silence, she said softly, "Because sometimes even strong hearts feel tired." The children moved closer. Ravi gently took her hand. "Amma, did someone hurt you?" She shook her head. "No, child, it's not that." And then, for the first time, Amma didn't tell a story. She told her truth. "I wasn't born blind," she began. "I used to see everything, the colors, the faces, the sky. I was young, married, with a little daughter. One day there was a fire. I was carrying my daughter through the smoke, trying to find the door. I couldn't see. I tripped. Her voice cracked. My daughter, she didn't survive." Ravi felt the air leave his lungs. "I was pulled out of the fire," Amma continued, "but the flames took my eyes. And my child." The wind sighed through the neem tree. "For years I lived in darkness, inside and out. I didn't speak, didn't eat, didn't care to live. One day, an old man gave me a small plant. He said, 'Water this every day, even if you don't believe in it.' I did. I watered it every morning. I spoke to it even when I had nothing to say. One day it bloomed. Someone described it to me, the color, the size, the beauty. I cried, for the first time, not in pain, but in peace. That plant taught me life still grows, even in darkness. That's when I started telling stories. Not to forget pain, but to share what it taught me." Ravi couldn't hold back anymore. He hugged Amma tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry, Amma. I didn't know." She held him with both arms. The whole village square felt like a heartbeat, soft, slow, alive. That night, no story was told. But no one left disappointed. Because sometimes the most powerful story is the one that's true. From that day forward, no one in the village questioned Arma's wisdom. Even the adults came to listen. And Ravi never missed an evening. But now he did more than listen, he helped, he cared, he began to see people just as Amma had taught him. "This raindrop," Amma whispered one evening, "is like every kind effort you make, every kind word you speak, every small hope you carry. You may feel small, alone, unseen, but even the smallest drop can change the whole desert. And when your eyes can no longer see, you will learn to see with your heart. That is the greatest gift of all." Tears streamed down the faces of children and elders alike. And Ravi, now stronger, knew he would carry Arma's story and her lesson for the rest of his life. If this story touched your heart, if you believe even the smallest effort can change the world, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us, what small raindrop will you be today? Your story matters. Your heart matters. And together, we can change deserts.